Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AmourologyEd, where we do sex and alternative lifestyle education. My name is Krista. I am your host. If you don't know me, I use she, her, or they, them pronouns. I bring a feminist, disabled, queer, kink, non-monogamous, relationship anarchist, and all-around shameless approach to my education and coaching. Today, we're going to be talking about masturbation for trans bodies. So, there are clitorises that look like penises and penises that look like clitorises and everywhere in between. So, we're going to be talking about some techniques to use to deal with dysphoria, and we're going to be talking about some techniques just for pleasure for different body types and different wherever you are at in that process. Given that, don't forget that there is a podcast version of this available at AmourologyEd, wherever podcasts are found. So if podcasts are more your style or more your jam, then please check that out. You can listen to those. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to start releasing what I'm going to call quickies. So I am going to release kind of dissected down versions of previously covered content, but they're going to be 3 to 5 minutes of very specific topics. And then you can refer back to the larger videos for more information. I just feel like my videos are getting too long, so I'm going to deal with that by doing this. This, however, will not work with podcasts. So what I'm going to do for podcasts and podcasts only is what I'm going to call a QQ, and a quickie and a question. So for that, I need questions from people. If you have a question about relationships, about queer topics, about alternative lifestyles, about anything, then about sex, whatever, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Krista at AmourologyEd.net. It's Krista at AmourologyEd.net. I'm going to assume you want to remain anonymous unless you specifically tell me it's okay to use your name. So if that's something you want, please feel free to add that into the email, whatever. It could be a hypothetical question. It could be a real question. It could be a series of questions, whatever you want to do. But I need questions in order to be able to do this. So this is where you come in and your audience participation. With that, since we're covering trans bodies today, I'm going to just plug one of my merchandise items here. So this is a sticker, a weatherproof vinyl sticker. It can go on your car, water bottle, whatever. It says, I support trans rights, and it has the trans kind of symbol in the background. It can come in multiple of colors, whatever color you want. It can come in glitter colors, iridescent colors, whatever. Check it out. You can find it on my website at AmourologyEd.net, or you can find it on Etsy at AmourologyEd. Okay, let's get on with it. Okay, so I'd like to start out by talking about the fact that a lot of trans people, in fact, most trans people, will choose not to have surgery to change their parts. So that means that there are a ton of vaginas that look like penises, vice versa, everywhere in between. But masturbation can be a really powerful tool for this. It allows you to experiment with your body and find out what touch works for you. Taking the time to explore your body can be really liberating, actually. There's no judgment from other people, no pressure to perform a certain way, and no rush in where you're at in your own process. Also, if you've ever felt shame about the way your body looks, which a lot of transgender people have, considering dysphoria and all sorts of other things, masturbation is one way to slowly kind of ease your way into self-acceptance and find what works for you. Really take it at your own pace for this, because wherever you are in your process of transitioning, whether you're at the beginning or the end of that transition process, your body is going to behave in very different ways at each step of the process. So really give yourself the space and the time and allow yourself to experience what you're feeling at that given moment. Also, remember that masturbate in a way that feels good for you, regardless of what genitals you have. So we're going to go over some techniques here to deal with dysphoria and treat one genital that looks like one thing as another thing. But if you find what works for you, if you really just enjoy the sensation of treating your clitoris like it's a penis, then great. That's awesome. Do that. So, just as transgender bodies come in many different forms and varieties, so do the terms that they use for them. So some trans people refer to the words that they would for cisgender people when talking about their genitals. So they would refer to their vagina or their penis or their clit or their cunt or their pussy or whatever you want to use. And that is totally fine. Others have come up with different phrases that they like to use. So there's a declit, a click, a manhole, strapless, cockpit, whatever. You can search the internet for these terms and find different terms that may fit for you. Some words may be non-specific as well, and that may be helpful for you. So things like stuff or bits or junk or parts, whatever. The same may be true for other erogenous zones, such as the chest area or whatever area, other erogenous zones around the body. It may be helpful to go through and rename those, which gets us to our first pointer and technique, which is body naming. So reclaiming your body and renaming your parts can really, really do some wonders for kind of releasing some of that dysphoria and allowing yourself to be more comfortable in the skin that you're in. Sometimes you don't realize how important this can be until you do it. So I do want to stress here that it is okay if you want to keep your parts the same name, i.e. a vagina is a vagina, a penis is a penis. Great. Do that. That doesn't make you any less transgender. That doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. That's totally fine. But what really, really helps a lot of people is to go through and make that decision for themselves. So go through, name all of your parts yourself, decide what name you're going to call them and what name you want partners to call them. And this is going to really help open some doors as far as dysphoria and what you feel you are comfortable with in your body. Keep in mind with this that some of the names for certain sex acts can also be very gendered. And so reclaiming those names can be just as important. Things like blowjob or whatever can become things like getting off or going down on or whatever. It doesn't have to be gendered, but realizing that sex acts can also be gendered and then renaming those and reclaiming those can be really valuable. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to go through and define some terms that I'm going to use in this video. So the terms I'm going to use are dick. I'm going to use this word to describe external genitalia. Dicks come in all shapes and sizes. They can belong to people of all genders. I'm going to refer to a front hole. We use this word to talk about internal genitals, so sometimes referred to as a vagina, but a front hole may self-lubricate, may not, depending on age and hormones. We're going to talk about a strapless. We use this word to describe genitals of trans women who have not had genital reconstruction surgery, so sometimes referred to as a penis. I'm talking about a vagina to talk about the genitals of trans women who have had bottom surgery. I'm going to talk about trans, obviously, is anyone and everyone who feels they are part of the transgender community, including folks who identify outside of the gender binary. So being trans does not necessarily mean that you have had surgery or want to transition or use specific pronouns or hormones or anything. This is a decision that you get to make for yourself, and I'm going to validate that right now. Another term I'm going to use is transfeminine. Anyone who was assigned male at birth and now identifies with femininity. And I say with femininity because it's a spectrum, right? Transmasculine. Anyone who was assigned female at birth and now identifies with masculinity. And then finally, I'm going to use the word parts to describe general sexual anatomy of any kind. Just a quick reminder that it is not safe to assume that just because somebody is transgender that they want their parts treated any differently than they would if they were cisgender. So if you're one of those people or you have a partner that's one of those people, go back and watch some of the previous videos and utilize some of those techniques that we talked there. They can also work for transgender bodies. So we're going to take the next little while and talk about how surgery and hormones, again, not all trans people may go through surgery or hormones, but how those can affect the body and how that changes how one potentially masturbates. Many trans feminine people who are on androgen blockers or estrogen may notice a decrease in their libido. You may also have fewer instances of waking up with an erection or maintaining or even getting an erection in the first place, even if you're aroused. The longer you take these hormones, the less sperm and ejaculatory fluid your body produces. So, even if you do get an erection, orgasm may look and feel very different than what you're used to. This may mean that getting and maintaining an erection is near impossible for a lot of people. But not to worry, there are so many techniques that you can use to get off an orgasm and have pleasure without that erection. On the other hand, transmasculine people taking testosterone will notice an increase in sex drive and the orgasms may feel stronger and more intense. Ooh, that sounds kind of nice. It may, however, be more difficult for the front hole to get wet or lubricate itself once you start taking testosterone. So it's really important to continue to use lube during this process to prevent micro-tearing of that area. Testosterone also causes your dick to grow, your penis to grow, up to a couple centimeters. So that's something to look forward to. Surgically created vaginas don't usually self-lubricate, so you definitely want to use a safe lubricant that you trust and you love with that area whenever you're inserting something in there, every time. Surgically created vaginas are also not as stretchy as front holes and may take some more time to warm up in that area as well. So be aware of that and take that time to really get to know yourself. After vaginoplasty, your surgeon may advise you to wait a while, up to 2 years, before engaging in certain sexual activities. So I just want to caveat this here with make sure you are following your doctor's advice at all times. The type of surgery performed will also influence how that vagina actually functions. For example, after vaginoplasty, there will be both a G-spot, which is made up of the erectile tissue around the urethra, and a prostate, both of which can be stimulated from inside the vagina. On the other hand, after phalloplasty, you may actually sometimes pee a small amount of liquid during sex. So just be aware of that. Okay, that is all I have for today. As always, you can find me at AmourologyEd.net. You can find me at AmourologyEd on all social media. You can join my Facebook group at AmourologyEd, where we have all sorts of fun discussions and extra little stuff. You can join my Patreon. I have Patreon as little as $1 a month. All of the tiers come with perks. You can find that at Patreon/AmourologyEd. If you would like a coaching session, a private session, get some questions answered, whatever, email me at Krista@AmourologyEd.net. It's Krista@Amourology.net. You can like and subscribe. You can tell a friend. All that great stuff. All of that is very much appreciated. So thank you so much. We will see you next week. And don't forget to submit your questions.